Long ago, in the land of Canaan, the people of Israel were living under the rule of a neighboring group called the Philistines. This was a difficult time for the Israelites, as the Philistines often treated them unfairly. During this period, a special promise was made that would bring forth a remarkable individual. The Philistines had been in control for many years. They were powerful and sometimes mistreated the Israelites, who were trying to live their lives as best they could. It was a time when hope seemed scarce, but within this challenging history, a divine plan was unfolding. In the town of Zorah, there lived a man named Manoah and his wife. They longed for a child, but they had none. One day, an angel of the Lord appeared to Manoah's wife and told her she would have a son. This son was destined for a special purpose. Before the child was even born, he was set apart by God. The angel instructed his mother that he should never drink wine or any other strong drink, nor eat anything unclean. He was also told that no razor should ever touch his head. This meant he would be a Nazirite, dedicated to God from birth. The angel explained that this son would be the one to begin saving the Israelites from the power of the Philistines. His birth was a sign of God's attention to his people and a promise of future deliverance through this special child, who would grow up to be named Samson. As Samson grew, he was blessed with incredible, God-given strength. He was a strong young man, and his strength was unlike anyone else's. He lived in the land where the Philistines were in charge, and his deeds began to make him known. Samson's strength allowed him to do many things. He once tore a lion apart with his bare hands. Another time, he single-handedly killed 30 Philistines to take their cloaks. He even carried the gates of the city of Gaza, posts and all the way to the top of a hill. He used his strength freely, and his deeds often challenged the Philistines. However, Samson eventually fell in love with a woman named Delilah, who lived in the valley of Sorek. The Philistine rulers saw this as an opportunity. They went to Delilah and offered her a large sum of silver if she could find out the secret to Samson's great strength. They wanted to capture him and enslave him. Delilah agreed. She began to ask Samson about the source of his might. Samson, perhaps not fully understanding the danger or the importance of his vow, told her several things that were not the true secret. He said if he was bound with 7 fresh bowstrings, he would be weak. Delilah tried this, but Samson broke free easily. Then he said if he was bound with new ropes that had never been used, he would be weak. Again, Delilah tried, and again, Samson broke free. Finally, after Delilah pleaded with him day after day, Samson's soul was tormented. He finally told her the truth, that he was a Nazirite dedicated to God, and if his hair were ever shaved, his strength would leave him, and he would become as weak as any other man. Delilah knew this time he had told her the truth. She sent for the Philistine rulers, who brought her the money. While Samson slept, Delilah had a man shave off the 7 locks of his hair. When she woke him and called out, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you," Samson woke up and thought he could break free as before. But he did not know that the Lord had departed from him. The Philistines captured him, put out his eyes, and took him to Gaza. There, they bound him with bronze chains and made him grind grain in the prison. Though blinded and enslaved, Samson's hair began to grow again. As his hair grew longer, his strength slowly returned. One day, the Philistine leaders gathered for a great celebration in the temple of their god, Dagon. They brought Samson out of prison to make fun of him. They had him stand between the 2 central pillars that supported the temple roof. Samson prayed to the Lord, asking for strength one last time to avenge himself on the Philistines. He then pushed with all his might against the 2 pillars. The temple collapsed, killing all the Philistine leaders and everyone else inside. In this final act, Samson killed more Philistines than he had in his entire life. This story teaches us that true strength comes from God and is meant to be used wisely and with care. When Samson misused or carelessly revealed the source of his God-given power, he suffered greatly. It is important to be mindful of the gifts we are given and to guard them with wisdom and respect. Samson's life, from his miraculous birth to his final act, shows the power of God and the consequences of misplaced trust. Though his journey had many struggles, in the end, he fulfilled the purpose for which he was set apart, reminding us that even in difficult circumstances, dedication and divine purpose can lead to significant outcomes. Long ago, in a land called Israel, people lived in small villages and worked in the fields. This was a time when different tribes lived side by side, sometimes peacefully, sometimes with challenges. In these ancient days, the hand of God sometimes touched certain individuals, granting them special abilities for specific purposes, often to help their people during difficult times. This story begins with one such remarkable person, Samson. During this period, the people of Israel often faced difficulties from a neighboring group called the Philistines. The Philistines were a strong and powerful nation, and they often controlled parts of the land where the people of Israel lived. Life for the Israelites under Philistine influence could be challenging, with their daily routines and freedoms sometimes restricted. There was a constant need for leadership and strength to guide the Israelite people. Our main character is Samson. He was a man of unusual origin, set apart from birth for a special task. From an early age, it was clear that God had given him extraordinary physical strength. He was known for this great power, which did not come from his muscles alone, but from a divine source. Samson lived among his people, the tribe of Dan, and his life was marked by many powerful deeds. At one point, Samson had caused significant trouble for the Philistines. As a result, the Philistines were very angry and sought to capture him. To avoid greater conflict, Samson's own people from the tribe of Judah decided to hand him over to the Philistines. They tied Samson with 2 brand new ropes and led him down from a rocky area to a place called Lehi, where the Philistine army was waiting. This seemed like a stable and familiar solution to avoid a larger battle. As Samson was brought to Lehi, the Philistines saw him and cheered loudly, ready to take him away. But at that very moment, something extraordinary happened. The Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon Samson. This was a direct surge of divine strength, a clear and unmistakable gift from God. It was a moment of profound change, and Samson understood that this power was given to him to fight for his people. With this newfound power, Samson immediately broke free. The ropes that bound his arms suddenly became as weak as burned flax, and they fell off his hands without effort. He then looked around, surveying his surroundings for anything he could use. His eyes fell upon a simple object lying on the ground, the fresh jawbone of a donkey. It was just a bone, dried and ready to be discarded, yet Samson picked it up. Samson now faced a truly difficult situation. He was just one man, armed only with a donkey jawbone. Arrayed against him was a large group of Philistine soldiers, well armed and numerous. The odds were impossible by any ordinary measure. How could one person, even one as strong as Samson, overcome such a vast number of trained fighters with only a bone for a weapon? This was the main challenge, a clear limit to what seemed humanly possible. Then came the key turning point. Empowered by the strength granted to him by God, Samson rushed forward. He used the jawbone with incredible force and skill. In that decisive moment, one man using an animal's bone defeated 1,000 Philistine soldiers. This event entirely shifted the situation, turning a moment of capture into a moment of overwhelming victory. Immediately after this great battle, the Philistine soldiers who remained fled the scene. Samson stood victorious, but the intense effort had left him utterly exhausted and incredibly thirsty. His throat was parched, and he felt as though he might die from thirst. He called out to God, asking for water, his victory having brought him to a point of physical weakness and deep need. God heard Samson's cry. From a hollow place in the ground, a spring of fresh water suddenly appeared. Samson drank from it, and as he did, his strength and spirit returned. He was completely revived and refreshed. Because of this amazing event, the place where the spring appeared was later named En-Hakkore, which means, the spring of him who called. Samson then served the people of Israel as their leader, or judge, for 20 years, bringing them peace from the Philistines for a long time. The lesson from this story is simple and clear. Even when faced with truly impossible odds, and even when a person feels weak or has only the simplest tools, great things can be accomplished. It shows that help can come from unexpected sources, and that one should always ask for what is needed, for provision can be found in the most surprising ways. After this great victory and his revival, Samson continued to lead the people of Israel peacefully for many years. The spring of water served as a lasting reminder of God's provision in a moment of extreme need. The story leaves us with the image of a leader who, with divine help, guided his people through challenging times. Long ago, in a land called Canaan, lived the people of Israel. At this time, the world was often a place of great challenges, and the people looked for guidance in their daily lives. It was a time when God guided Israel, providing direction and wisdom through chosen individuals. The people of Israel lived under the rule of a king from Canaan named Jabin. His powerful army was led by a general named Sisera, who commanded many strong chariots. This situation had lasted for 20 difficult years, making life hard for the Israelites, who faced constant hardships and oppression from King Jabin's forces. Among the people of Israel was a wise woman named Deborah. She was known as a prophetess, which meant she shared messages from God. She was also a judge, helping people settle disagreements and understand what was right. Deborah would often sit under a palm tree, where people would come to her for advice and to hear God's word. There was also a brave commander named Barak, who led parts of the Israelite army. For many years, this was the way things were. Deborah continued to offer guidance, and the people continued to live under the rule of King Jabin. This situation seemed fixed, a familiar part of their everyday lives, even though it brought difficulty and sorrow. It was a time of waiting for change, when the familiar patterns of life held steady. One day, Deborah received a clear message. She sent for Barak and told him that God instructed him to gather 10,000 men from the tribes of Naphtali and Zebulun. He was to lead them to Mount Tabor. Deborah explained that God would draw General Sisera, with all his chariots and army, to the Kishon River and deliver them into Barak's hand. This was a moment when the leaders respond to a call to action. Barak heard Deborah's words and agreed to go, but only if Deborah went with him. Deborah accepted, explaining that because of this, the honor of the victory would eventually go to a woman. Barak then gathered his 10,000 men. He traveled with Deborah to Kadesh, preparing his forces as instructed. The main challenge became clear when news reached Sisera that Barak had gathered an army on Mount Tabor. Sisera quickly reacted, assembling all 900 of his iron chariots and his entire army. They gathered at the Kishon River, presenting a formidable opposition. Sisera's army was well equipped and experienced, making the task for Barak's forces very difficult. The key turning point arrived when Deborah spoke to Barak. She told him, "Go, for this is the day the Lord will give Sisera into your hands. Has not the Lord gone ahead of you?" With these words, Barak and his 10,000 men charged down from Mount Tabor. In that moment, God caused confusion and panic within Sisera's army. It was clear that God leads justice, bringing about a shift in the battle. Immediately following this, Sisera's chariots and his entire army were thrown into disarray. The general, Sisera himself, jumped from his chariot and fled on foot. Barak and his men pursued the remaining forces, ensuring that none of Sisera's soldiers escaped. Sisera ran to the tent of Jael, the wife of Eber the Kenite, seeking refuge. While he was resting, Jael took a tent peg and a hammer. She then used these to quietly bring Sisera's life to an end. Over time, with Sisera defeated, King Jabin's power weakened more and more. The people of Israel grew stronger, slowly recovering from the long period of oppression. The land began to experience a new sense of calm and safety. This situation evolved peacefully, and the land enjoyed a quiet rest for 40 years, demonstrating that victory occurs and endures. This story teaches us that when people listen and act upon guidance from God, even when facing powerful challenges, positive outcomes can happen. It also shows that courage can be found in different individuals, and that working together can lead to significant change. And so, the land found a long period of quiet and safety. The memory of Deborah's wisdom and Barak's courage lived on, reminding everyone of a time when great challenges were met, and peace was restored through faithfulness and collective effort. For a long time, a group of people known as the Israelites had been on a special journey. This story takes place in an ancient land called Canaan, after many years of traveling through the wilderness. They were now close to a significant city named Jericho, a place they hoped would be part of their new home. Before this time, the Israelites had spent generations moving and living in different places. They had been led by great leaders, and they were accustomed to receiving guidance and instructions for their path forward. They had learned to live together as a large community, always looking toward the promise of a settled land where they could build their homes and futures. Now, they stood at the edge of this new land, ready to begin a new chapter. Among these people was their leader, Joshua. He was a kind and steadfast man who had taken on the important role of guiding the Israelites after their previous leader, Moses. Joshua was responsible for making sure everyone followed the guidance they received, and he cared deeply for his people. The Israelites were a large community, a nation of families, all journeying together under Joshua's leadership. The situation before our main story began was that the Israelites were camped outside the city of Jericho. Jericho was known for its very strong and tall walls. These walls circled the entire city, making it a secure place, and its gates were shut tight. From the outside, the city looked like an unmoving, unchangeable fortress, standing firmly in their path. The Israelites simply waited, observing the city, wondering what would happen next. One day, Joshua received clear and specific instructions. It was explained to him that victory over Jericho was already planned. These instructions detailed a precise way for the Israelites to approach the city. Joshua understood that these were important directions for the entire community, and he prepared to share them with everyone. This was a moment of decision for the people, to follow these unique instructions or not. Following these instructions, the Israelites began a daily routine. Each day for 6 days, they marched around the city of Jericho once. Some priests walked in front, carrying a special chest called the Ark of the Covenant, and blowing trumpets made from ram's horns. The rest of the people marched silently behind them. They simply walked, completing their circuit, and then returned to their camp. They repeated this exact pattern every day. The task of marching around a strong city like Jericho, day after day, without attacking or even speaking, presented a quiet challenge. The city walls remained tall and firm, and the gates stayed closed. For some, this method might have seemed unusual or slow, leading to quiet thoughts or questions about how such a plan could work. The strength of the walls and the silent, repetitive nature of the marches could make one wonder if anything would ever truly change. The key turning point arrived on the 7th day. On this day, the instructions were different. The Israelites were told to march around the city not once, but 7 times. As they completed the 7th circuit, a signal was given. The priests blew a long, continuous blast on their ram's horn trumpets. Then, Joshua instructed all the people to shout together, with a great, united sound. Immediately after the great shout and the long trumpet blast, a remarkable thing happened. The tall, strong walls of Jericho, which had seemed so permanent, began to fall down. They simply collapsed in on themselves. This opened the way for the Israelites, who were then able to walk straight into the city. The path was now clear, just as had been planned. This event marked a significant step in the Israelites' long journey. It showed them that following instructions and acting together could lead to unexpected results. After Jericho, they continued their travels, eventually settling in the land that had been promised to them. Over time, they established their communities and built new lives, moving forward from each challenge they encountered. The lesson from the story of Jericho is about following guidance and working together. It teaches that sometimes the way to achieve a goal might seem unusual or require patience. But by listening to instructions and acting with unity, even the biggest obstacles can be overcome. It highlights the importance of obedience and belief in a larger plan. And so, the story of Jericho concludes, a calm and significant step in the long journey of the Israelites. It reminds us of a time when a community followed a unique path and achieved a remarkable outcome.